Hello and welcome to the latest episode of Touchline Talk with odds changer and SBK. As usual, I'm joined by the one and only football writer and broadcaster Dean Jones to discuss all the latest news and gossip from the world of football. Just over a week or so to go now, Dean, before the January transfer window opens. One man making the headlines is Manchester United striker Anthony Martial. The Frenchman is seeking to leave Old Trafford in January as he wants to get more first-team opportunities elsewhere. Lots of clubs being linked with Martial. Sevilla seem to be the latest one who are leading the race for him, but we've also got interest from Barcelona, Juventus, Atletico Madrid, and even Newcastle United as they look to bolster their attacking options in January. What's your latest take on Anthony Martial's future at Manchester United?
Yeah, I mean, he's wanted to leave for a little while now, not because he doesn't want to be a Man United player, but because I think he's just getting frustrated and really wants to kickstart his career more than anything. I mean, the arrival of Ronaldo and Jadon Sancho definitely hasn't helped him. The fact that Jesse Lingard's hanging around too means that there's even more competition for those forward spots. And Martial struggled for a little while now to establish himself in that front line, and he hasn't been helped by any of this. I wrote a piece 6 weeks or so ago talking about the fact that Martial fears that he'll basically be priced out of a move in January. That's been his big worry. Obviously, United spent a lot of money on him back 5 or 6 years ago now, and they would be looking to recoup a lot of that money, or as much of it as they can. And I just think that his concern is like, how's this ever going to come about if he is to get out, especially in January? Now, someone did a piece again a week or so ago saying, Atletico Madrid, that they would look into kind of a swap deal just to see if there's any way that could be done. And it might be a route that opens up. I know that Spain is a place that he's interested in ending up. I think a club like Sevilla would really suit him because he can really be a difference maker at a side like that. And I think there'd be less pressure than if he was at one of the very elite clubs. Not sure he should even be going to a very elite club at this moment in time because he needs to go and rebuild his confidence and form somewhere. Sevilla seems to be a good place to go at this moment because there's always potential for how their season can go, and there's always a chance for you to make a mark. So it'll be interesting if that's the route he takes. But look, him and his agents and Man United need to get their heads together here and figure out what it's going to take for him to actually leave United, because this whoever it is that signs him, the package needs to be reasonable, because otherwise it's just not going to happen.
Yeah, do you think United should let him go? Do you think they've got enough cover in the attacking options? I know you've mentioned Ronaldo there and Jesse Lingard seemingly staying at Old Trafford right now, but if any deal's going to happen, it will only be a loan deal, I would imagine, with all these clubs that are interested in Martial unable to probably afford him on a permanent basis. So with that in mind, do you think United would be open to letting him go, or do you think they'd keep him sticking around at Old Trafford?
Well, the only thing that really changes anything is the fact that COVID has changed a lot of clubs' outlook in the past couple of weeks. And seeing fixtures getting cancelled, seeing squads decimated, has left a lot of clubs wondering, like, what do we do with these fringe players? Do we actually let them out, or are we going to need them? So whether you're talking about Anthony Martial, whether you're talking about Dele Alli, Ross Barkley, Jesse Lingard, there's new questions to be answered on all those kinds of players, because suddenly they've got a different kind of value to you. And it's that strength and depth that's going to be needed if this outbreak, if you like, continues over the next months to 6 weeks, which then takes you to the end of the January window. It's a really difficult time that it's come, because this is the window of opportunity for these players to go and crack on in the second half of the season. But suddenly the club needs them. So it's definitely a new question mark that hangs over Martial. If it wasn't for this, I would say yes, let him go. Like, there's no real purpose for Martial in this squad right now, in the way that it's transitioning under the cultural reboot and everything else. So I would say move him on. But I can understand why they might be hesitant to do that at the moment, because who knows how their squad's going to look in a few weeks' time.
Yeah, this COVID outbreak, which is affecting games up and down the country, is probably going to affect the transfer window as well in January. So United, as you said, might be a bit more reluctant to let Martial go, just in case their squad is decimated further by the outbreak as well. But yeah, he's going to be an interesting subject, I think, Martial, over the next couple of weeks during this transfer window, with the player obviously having his heart set on a move away from Old Trafford. Barcelona were one of the clubs linked with Martial, but they've been linked with a whole host of Premier League strikers. Dean, right now, Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang has been mentioned in some quarters. We've also got Edison Cavani, Martial's Manchester United teammate, and Ferran Torres of Manchester City has also been strongly linked with the move to the Camp Nou as a possible replacement for Sergio Aguero following his sad retirement earlier this month as well. We all know Barcelona's financial issues. They've had major problems in the transfer window in the summer as well. Where does it stand right now for Barcelona to try and lure one of these strikers to their Camp Nou in January?
I think Ferran is the priority, as I understand it. He has been for a little while now. They've been looking at Man City anyway for a while because the identity that Pep Guardiola's built at the club fits with what they want to get back to. Yeah. And so that's why they've looked at the other players previously, Raheem Sterling being one of them that they've had on their radar for a little while now. But obviously Raheem Sterling's extremely expensive. And Ferran is Spanish and he's had his head turned by the interest. And I think Pep Guardiola is slightly annoyed by it. I don't think he likes it when players genuinely show interest in going somewhere else. When, especially there have been stages in the season when he's fit that Pep's made him quite a focal part of this side. Obviously, he played the false nine, and I don't think that's really his position going forward. But Barca, what was told a month or so ago was that they were looking at a wide forward ahead of a central forward, somebody who could be creative as well as score goals. Probably fits that it would be Ferran in that mould. So I think that he is the priority. Let's see what happens with Ousmane Dembele because they've got a situation there that they're trying to resolve over his contract and whether he does leave or whether he stays. All the signs at the moment are that he wants to stay. So let's see if they can resolve that issue. But yeah, I mean, it's not going to be like Aubameyang's not going to be leaving Arsenal in the January transfer window, from what I can tell. I mean, that's a big money move, and I don't see really anyone at the moment spending big money.
No, it seems like January is going to be a very reactive market, waiting to see what clubs do, and then other clubs might react to that if they need to bring in replacements. With that in mind, if City were to let Torres move to Barcelona, do you think they'd be in the market for a replacement just to keep the squad ticking over?
I don't actually. No, yeah, I think that they've got some strength in depth, and I think that they would have been pleased by the fact that they've given some young players opportunities in the past few weeks, and Cole Palmer and people like that have been able to come through and show that they can take that step up. So no, I don't think they will. At the end of the season, yeah, I think that Man City will go into the market and look to sign, a serious forward. Or Odriozola is also one that keeps coming back onto the agenda, and I think he'd probably be a good replacement for Ferran. But I can't see it being in January. I think they've got enough already. I really do. I think they've got enough quality.
Yeah, that's a worrying sign for the rest of the Premier League. Even if City lose a top young player like Ferran Torres, they've got enough quality to cope with that. And I think they've proved over the last 18 months that they don't really need a striker. They can still score plenty of goals and go on and win the Premier League at a canter. So yeah, big warning for the rest of the Premier League. But yeah, let's see if Barcelona are successful in their attempts to lure Ferran Torres back to La Liga. And we'll see then what Barcelona can end up doing with him in the team if they get him. One of the surprising transfer rumours over the week so far, Dean, has been Chelsea being linked with a surprise move for Wolves midfielder Ruben Neves. Obviously, Neves was the subject of speculation in the summer. He was strongly linked with Arsenal and Manchester United, but he ended up staying at Wolves. He's been such a key man for Wolves since he's arrived at the club. Is this a bit worrying for Wolves fan that these rumours are starting to come out again? Is it maybe Ruben Neves being a bit unsettled at Wolves, maybe looking to take that step up in his career to move to a club playing Champions League football or contesting for the top trophies?
Yeah, I mean, Man United have looked at him closely as well, and I think that the idea that Ruben Neves just stays at Wolves and until the day he hangs up his boots is probably unrealistic. So he's done brilliantly there. I think it was a surprise that that's where he ended up anyway, but certainly he's given him absolutely everything in the time that he's been there, and he is one of the most consistent midfielders, I think, in the Premier League over that duration of time. They obviously are going to want a big fee for him. At this moment in time, I'm not sure it makes much sense that Chelsea would be going to spend close to £40 million on him, is what it would probably cost. But with that, what we have to keep in mind is that the Chelsea midfield is changing now. We saw them bring in Sam Niguez, and that hasn't worked out. That's not going to be a long-term answer. But Kante, Jorginho and Kovacic isn't a long-term future. Like, at least one of those players won't be in the team next season. That's why you're seeing them being linked with Declan Rice. That's why you'll see them be linked with Ruben Neves, Jude Bellingham.
Yeah.
Chelsea, I'm pretty sure, will sign a central midfielder in the summer. And, Ruben Neves would probably fit well. He's shown all the characteristics that you'd want to know that he can fit straight into the team. It's a worry, really, for players that try and make their name at Chelsea. I mean, I know that Conor Gallagher is concerned about the fact that obviously Chelsea have to give him an opportunity at the start of next season, or at least in the summer and pre-season, to break in. But, I don't know if this is directly going to be a threat to him, but any transfer rumour like this, if you're a player trying to prove yourself already at Chelsea, they're always just linked with players that are just that tier above.
Yeah.
And it's because they have to strive to sign the best players around. And that's why it's so difficult to make it at Chelsea for young players.
Yeah, Chelsea are champions of Europe. They're going to be fighting for the Premier League title on a regular basis. So, as you said, they will be linked with big name signings as well, which could be bad news for the likes of Conor Gallagher and Billy Gilmore in the future as they look to plough away into that first team at Stamford Bridge as well. Just getting back to Neves, we know Manchester United are in the market for two midfielders probably in the summer. Could you see them rekindling their interest in the Portuguese midfielder?
Yeah, definitely can. Yeah. I think they're still looking to be in that conversation. It was definitely something that they explored during the last window. It was never a priority at the time because there were other situations that they wanted to sort. And then obviously the whole Ronaldo thing opened up, and Varane and Ronaldo basically were two signings they didn't see coming that were put on a plate for them. They took them, and it kind of distracted them from maybe what they actually needed, which was a central midfielder. But I think that Ruben Neves will definitely be somebody to look into. But there are at least 3 or 4 other names that they're looking at right now as well.
Yeah, highly unlikely that any move for Neves might happen in the January transfer window, but I'm sure his name will be on the lips of a lot of top clubs in the summertime. And for Wolves fans, it's maybe a case of enjoy him now while you've got him, because I'm sure there'll be lots of summer speculation around the midfielder's future in the summer. One club we are expecting to be busy in the January transfer window, if possible, will be Leeds United. They've seen their squad decimated by injuries in recent weeks, and that's likely to force them into the transfer market to ease the pressure on Marcelo Bielsa and give him a few more options. From what I understand, they're now seeking two midfielders in January, a number 6 and a number 8, when initially it was just number 6. Calvin Phillips' injury has been sorely felt by Leeds, and he faces a lengthy spell on the sidelines. What you're hearing on what Leeds are trying to do, Dean, Weston McKennie's been one named linked to the Juventus midfielder, the USA international. It seems that Juve would be open to the idea of letting McKennie move on, who has been linked in the past with a move to the Premier League with the likes of Tottenham, West Ham and Villa also linked him. Would he be a good fit for Leeds?
I really like Weston McKennie. I'm not sure that he's a good fit for what they are looking at at this exact moment in time, but I do like him. I think that Leeds are in a very difficult situation. I'm honestly not sure how much they can invest in players in this next window. Like you hinted at earlier, like this market is almost going to be all loans, short-term deals, expiring contracts, all focused around that. Leeds obviously are going to be part of this takeover it's going to take a bit of time, but they are looking at big investment coming in. They want to invest before that big investment comes, but there's not that much there. And at a time when they're also looking at other players like Brereton Diaz, they've really got to decide what the priority is and what the best fit is. The big problem that Leeds have had this season, I think, is that they're built in a specific way, in a style of play that has obviously evolved over the past few years under Bielsa. As soon as the prime players to fit that mold aren't available, there's nothing there. The players just can't, they don't have the quality and depth to step up, and they also don't have a plan B to turn to a different system.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what they need to look to here. Like, I don't know if they can get in enough players to completely change that in January. But if you're saying that they want two central players, then that's why, to be honest, because it would give them more of a structure, more of an option to change things tactically. Look, Bielsa doesn't like moving away from what he believes in. That's the fact. So let's see how stubborn he is about that. I'm not convinced, to be honest, that Bielsa will be at Leeds beyond this season. I think that's a talking point that's going to come up as this season wears on. But for now, the focus is obviously on making sure they're not dragged into that relegation battle. And to not be in the relegation battle, they do need to bring some players in. So, yeah, a 6 and an 8 would be a good idea.
Yeah, what's not going to be easy to do in this transfer window, as we have mentioned before, with everything going on with finances and COVID as well. But as you mentioned there, Dean, if Leeds don't get a couple of new faces in, would you be seriously worried about relegation for them?
Yeah, I mean, I guess they're helped by the fact that there are enough struggling teams already that gives them a little bit of a head start and a bit of belief that they're not bad enough to fall into it. But when you've had trouncings like they have, I know that they've had a depleted side as well, but it doesn't help you in terms of confidence, and it is
Yeah.
hard to overcome. I mean, they will be helped by the fact that their fan base is unbelievable, and I do genuinely think it can make a big difference at times when you just need that extra push. You know, we've seen it happen at other clubs before, and Leeds will be so desperate not to fall out of this league again. That's the other reason I think that there is a chance they do invest right now, is because this second season syndrome is not something they can afford to fall foul to, because they've worked and taken so long to get back to the Premier League. And next season, there really does seem to be a massive opportunity for them to kick on, especially if this extra investment arrives. It's almost worth like gambling a little bit and like maybe spending money you don't necessarily have right now, to try and get the quality of player in that you need.
Yeah, as you said, it's going to be a key few months for Leeds coming up right now to try and secure Premier League survival, especially with this planned investment coming ahead in the future as well. But yeah, as you said, Dean, their fan base could play a huge part in that as well. There's not many teams who would be singing louder than everybody else, what, 7-0 down at the Etihad Stadium. So hats off to Leeds fans for doing that the other week as well. Moving up to Scotland, Rangers may face a fight to keep hold of a number of their top stars in January. One in particular, the inform attacker Joe Aribo, is the latest player to attract admiring glances from teams down in England. We've got the links with Aston Villa, obviously, with Steven Gerrard in there now, who brought Aribo to Ibrox when he was in charge at the Glasgow club as well. Also, Southampton are meant to be watching Joe Aribo right now. He's been in great form for Rangers this season, and for me, he's probably been their star player, star performer. He's got 6 goals, 3 assists as well. He's spearheading their title bid again to try and retain the title ahead of Celtic as well. Bit worrying for Rangers though. He's entering the final 18 months of his contract, and it seems he's in no rush to sign a new deal. So it leaves Rangers in a bit of a troublesome position. Dean, what do you think the chances are that Aribo could be on the move from Rangers?
I mean, it's definitely worrying for Rangers. Talk there about the contract. I think I saw his valuation mentioned at around £10 million. And I mean, there's not many players you can buy for £10 million these days. And the type of club he's going to end up in is probably that middle of the range Premier League outfit. So whether that's, you know, Crystal Palace or Southampton, something like that. I mean, it is a good step that I'm sure he would be interested in, because we've seen players make those moves before and like have success there and they move on to something else. It's a good way to find your feet in the Premier League. And at £10 million, it's not really much of a gamble for Premier League clubs. And Watford and Brentford linked as well. And again, they're clubs that aren't really afraid to spend that type of money if they think it can change the dynamic of their squad. And he seems like he's a lad that is full of confidence right now. And that's the other thing that clubs are going to be looking for at this time in the season. You want somebody that is full of belief in himself, that can come in and make a difference to your side from the very first game. And yeah, I probably would be a little concerned if I was Rangers. But, you know, we've seen other players in that squad that have had a good 18 months and been linked heavily with the transfers in the summer, and none of it actually materialised.
Yeah.
So that's the one positive side I take if I was Rangers. Be like, well, there's been a lot of speculation around all of our players. In the end, it was just the manager that ended up leaving and none of the players. So there's some hope.
Yeah, some hope there as well. But as you said, Rangers might decide to take the gamble, keep hold of Aribo, because he's going to be key to their title chances. And the big factor for Rangers probably now is if you win the SPL title this season, you're probably straight into the group stages of the Champions League. And we know the lucrative money that's on offer when you can reach the Champions League. So Rangers will be hoping to keep hold of Aribo, probably Glenn Kamara as well, Alfredo Morelos. There'll always be rumours about these top players that Rangers have got, especially when we come around to transfer windows.
Yeah, exactly that. They're used to it, aren't they? They're used to it by now. And I'm sure like within the club, it's all taken with a pinch of salt these days. Be interesting though, you know, Steven Gerrard at the moment, obviously being linked with Rangers players and Liverpool players. Like maybe it's true, maybe it's lazy. Who knows? We'll soon find out.
Yeah, some of these are easy links when you can link old players with their old managers as well. But yeah, Rangers will be desperate to keep hold of their best players as they look to fight off any bid from Celtic to try and win that Scottish title this season. Quickly, we'll just finish on theme. We're a bit pessimistic on how busy the January transfer window might be now with everything that's going on right now with COVID, etc. Which club are we expecting to be the busiest in January? Are we both plumping for Newcastle?
I mean, they're going to try to be the busiest. It's just a case of how much success they have. I mean, it's so difficult to understand, like, where the decision making is coming from right now that I'm just not convinced that they've got a clear strategy to begin the month with. I think it's going to be a little bit scattergun. I've said before that I think they'll end up turning to the foreign market because I think they're going to find the Premier League clubs too difficult to deal with. And probably if they are going to have any success with Premier League clubs, it's going to be a case of wait and wait and wait. And it'll get to that last week of the window. And that's when they might have some joy. But it might be 3 weeks too late. You know, they need results and they need players soon so they can start turning the season around. So we'll see. It really is going to take them one side to kind of convince others to follow, like we've talked about Trippier before.
Yeah.
I think there are other teams as well that need to be busy. I mean, West Ham want to sign a centre back and a striker, and I'm pretty sure we'll do that. It's more of a case now that they're looking at loans rather than buy options, partly because of the way that everything's changing at the moment with COVID, but also because they're really just looking short term, see what their success is, and then they can build properly in the summer on the back of that and know where their finances are. But there will be some interesting stuff. Like, we're always caught out by one or two clubs just deciding to go off piste and do something a little bit different. But because of this outbreak recently, it definitely changes how many clubs are going to be willing to let out fringe players. And for Newcastle particularly, I think that's a problem.
Yeah, lots of question marks around the transfer window right now, and a lot of pessimistic agents out there as well, that there might not be much activity going on in January. But as usual, Dean, I'm sure it'll all get compacted into the final 10 days, final week before we see some movement. And as you said, those clubs, Newcastle, West Ham, Villa, Leeds, I'd expect them to try and bring in some new faces just to freshen things up and boost their chances in the second half of the season.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, let's hope it's an interesting one. But, yeah, there
We'll
won't be
make it
much money
interesting.
spent. Yeah, it will be. Fingers crossed. We'll make up some rumours if we need to and anything else. But, yeah, that's us here for another week on Touchline Talk. I'd just like to wish everyone a very Merry Christmas and to stay safe, and we'll see you soon.